why I'm no longer talking to white people about race.
Well, you're talking to me, ain't ya? Am I black now? Hey everyone, and welcome back. I hope you're having a wonderful summer and that everything is going your way. Today I thought we'd continue our exploration of critical race theory and white privilege. We've got a self-proclaimed activist at our disposal who's going to explain everything. On a side note, be aware that the strange edits in her video is not my doing. This lady is so lazy that she can't be bothered to redo a bad take. She'll just cut right in the middle of a sentence no matter how crazy it looks. Also, why not check out my t-shirt store? There are a bunch of new designs just waiting for you. Link will be in the description. So without further ado, let's get going. Enjoy!
I've been planning to do body positive book reviews, but actually this I think is much more relevant, and also you can't actually separate racism from body positivity.
Oh, here we go.
Oh really? You can diet away blackness? Racism is a problem just because it's a factor of something you can't change about yourself. Your weight, on the other hand, is under your control.
Well, the beauty standard is often a Eurocentric beauty standard, a white beauty standard.
No, it's a health-based beauty standard. Healthy people look good. It's a feature, not a bug.
In light of events that have been going on with protesting, I'm going to be honest, I've been feeling very tired and exhausted.
That's because you're a that's because we're all tired of hearing of this shit.
It feels like every day you kind of wake up and you're being exposed to more and more of the violence that's going on to your own people.
You do realize that you're about 500 times more likely to be killed by a black guy than you are to be killed by a police officer. You realize that, right?
You have to make sure that we...
Who's we?
Rest and recharge so that we can go back at it again stronger instead of burning ourselves out.
Enough with the fucking whining about how tired you are. Get to a fucking point.
I am black, but I do have a certain amount of privilege. I am light-skinned. Being light-skinned or being mixed race, you can be seen as half white or half black, so you're less black than them, but still not white. So you're still not with us, but we can accept you a little bit more.
Okay, this part I can just never wrap my head around. This is like Schrodinger's cat for races.
Schrodinger's cat?
Oh.
See, there was an earth physicist by the name of Erwin Schrödinger. He had this theoretical experiment. Put a cat in a box, add a can of poison gas activated by the decay of a radioactive atom, and close the box. But he said that if he did do it, at any one instant, the cat would be both dead and alive at the same time.
Ever since this whole thing started, people you had no idea were even black have been coming out of the woodworks to claim all those black victim points. It's apparently the most profitable thing you can do as a celebrity.
Just note that I have been complicit in racism, so I'm equally learning how to do better.
Well, then you're a worse person than I am.
If you're uncomfortable with me using the word white, if you're uncomfortable with that, well, good.
Why in the hell would I be uncomfortable with that?
Because black people don't get uncomfortable with being called black, and they're the ones who have had it used against them.
Well, I certainly understand what you're talking about. You do? No.
What? It's just a description of a physical trait.
So now we've come to a point where we're not prioritizing white feelings anymore.
Good. We should never prioritize feelings for anyone.
If you're uncomfortable with it, I would say good and keep watching.
Jesus Christ, what do you think you're creating here? Like an autopsy video?
Feel free to click off, or feel free to keep watching.
Thank you, Captain Obvious, for pointing out that I have the choice between watching and not watching. I wasn't really sure, but now that you've told me, I feel so much better. Also, feel free to fuck off.
And as I was saying before, it doesn't pander to being comfortable for white people to read. I mean, if you look at the title, I mean, it's not about that at all. And I respect that. And I think it's a big step to have something like this published and be available out there and to become so popular as well.
You're surprised by this? When the media, Hollywood, social media, politicians all push the same thing, that's kind of what happens.
It is real that my experiences are valid. Everyone's experiences are valid.
Oh really? Even those who've been shat on all their lives, even though they're white? Do white homeless people have privilege?
That sounds crazy, huh?
Yeah, you gotta admit there are some holes in your theory here.
Unless you've experienced racism yourself, then you can't really tell somebody else that they haven't experienced it if you don't know what you're talking about. Like, that's just rude.
Well, I'm experiencing it right now. Wherever I turn, there's media telling me I'm a bad person either because I'm white or because I'm a man. It never ends.
I intended to use bookmarks, and I tried to bookmark everything I found extremely relevant and poignant, and things that really stuck out to me. And I mean, if you look at this, it turns out that there must be a good 20 in there, and I thought, I can't go through all of these. It's that I'm just going to pick out quotes from the book to support the points that I think are the most important.
Yeah, you do whatever you have to do to not exert yourself. Wouldn't want you to have to put in any work or anything.
Racism equals white.
Kind of a redundant statement, don't you think? People who believe in white don't try to hide that they're racist. They'll tell you straight up. Now, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you actually meant to say white privilege here. But because you're too lazy to check your own work, you left it in. See what I mean about putting in the work?
And the reason that so many white people feel uncomfortable about it, feel uncomfortable admitting it's there, is because it's uncomfortable to admit that you have unearned power, that you have privilege.
I'm really sorry. You are not. He's right about that.
How, though? I never inherited a dime, and I was never given anything for free.
And it's hard to let go of it, A, because there's a certain level of guilt there that you have something that you've not earned.
What? What the fuck?
Why would guilt of having something make it harder to give up?
And number two, there's also letting go of a system that benefits you.
You'd better fucking believe you've got to give me a good reason to give up something that benefits me. But before all that, you have to prove that it actually exists in the first place.
I don't think anybody can argue that racism does not benefit white people.
Oh, just watch me. I would argue that racism spiritually impoverishes white people. But what people like you always forget is that racism can be perpetrated by any race. And until you're ready to admit that, we really won't make any headway here.
There's no way you can say that.
I just did, asshole.
I can understand why you'd want to hold on to something that's bolstering you up and keeping your voice heard and keeping your life chances better.
Oh, you mean like this wokeism movement? Projection much?
Everybody wants to do well, but it's not fair. It's not fair that has to result in people dying and people being sick and people being put in jail and enslaved. Yes, slavery may have been abolished, but modern day slavery is real.
Not in the Western world. But you never, ever go after those countries that actually have it. Why is that? Could it be that it's because it gives you no benefits to go after China?
The perfect place to dump a body.
I can't even go there.
Yeah, you're really quite useless, aren't you?
Racism it's about much more than personal prejudice. It's about being in the position to negatively affect other people's life chances.
Yes, and if you are in that position, like a politician or a CEO, and you actually use that power solely on black people, then you would be a racist, but more importantly, it would be illegal. And furthermore, you could probably sue the shit out of them.
I have an erection. It's a good sign. Let the trial begin. I'm ready.
We see a lot of police brutality and extreme acts of violence. We see extremism, basically.
Well, I'm glad you admit that it's extremism, because police brutality is not normal. It's not something that is tolerated or accepted.
A lot of people have come to me recently and have asked me, why don't you like the police? The whole idea of the police, they're supposed to protect people, but I don't feel protected by them.
I'm sorry, but your subjective experience of not feeling safe is such an intangible thing that it can have no bearing on policy or legislation. Or maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe you're just a criminal.
People of color don't feel protected by them. Black people do not feel protected by the police.
Well, that's really more of a parenting problem than a police problem.
Oh, I hurt your feelings. Good.
I think the reason that people find it so hard to understand is because they don't realise that there are two different systems. There's a system for white people and there's a system for people of colour.
You can't just say that and provide no proof. Well, I mean, technically you can, but you can't expect me to take you seriously then.
Now, if you've only experienced one half of that system, then you're not going to understand. You're not going to see, you're not going to understand, you're not even going to realise that other side exists.
See you on the other side. Oh, Bojack, no. There is no other side.
And I take it you're not really going to show us either, right? So what the fuck's even the point?
Our parents raise us. Always get a receipt when you go to a shop. Always get a bag to prove that you bought the thing so people don't think you lied.
See what I tell you? It's a parenting issue. As long as black people are taught that the police are evil, they're automatically going to start acting suspiciously around cops. But do get a receipt. It's always a good thing to have.
Even my own dad and an uncle of mine were talking about how if the police pull you over, put your hands outside your window so that they know you're not reaching for a gun, because of course you'd have a gun because you're black.
See what I mean? Someone just sticking their hands out the window for no reason is totally suspicious. If I were a cop, I'd be like, what the fuck's up with this guy?
We need to go to the cops.
Yeah,
now.
right now.
No,
Let's go.
We can't go to the cops.
Why?
Bulgarian's got a ton of moles.
On his face?
No, in the police department.
Imagine as a child you're being taught by your parents how to avoid the police unfairly treating you because it's that big of a problem.
Then this is a problem of your own making. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
But I think some white people so badly want to believe that the police are fair and they're doing a good thing for us. No, they're doing a good thing for you.
Sure, if you means non-criminals.
They even encourage us to overcome that racial injustice by being educated and going to university so that we can have a degree, and that no matter what anyone says, we'll be so qualified and so educated that nobody can say no to us.
They encourage you to get an education and go to university? Oh, the horror.
The horror.
The fact that more black people than white people go to university and get a degree, yeah, there's a very tiny proportion of black people that get into the top 4 universities in the UK.
Wait, what? Did you just hear what you just said? Did that just come out of your mouth? So more black people than white people are going to university, and somehow you have turned that into you being the victim. My God.
Hey, moron! Fucking moron!
If you've ever spoken about racism where you've been the only person of colour in the room, I think you'll know the feeling. And Renier Lodge actually speaks of it. She says that you can be scared for your social position and scared for your physical safety.
Sounds a bit overly dramatic.
Wow, it's like you live in this fantasy world that is just as dangerous as Mad Max.
The amount of times when I've spoken about it and felt like I've been seen as less of a person or been seen as an angry black woman, it's kind of heartbreaking, but it also can trick you into feeling, oh, maybe I am a bit emotional. It's gaslighting, it's manipulating somebody.
But you said everyone's experiences are valid. Aren't the opinions of those who think you are annoying valid?
If you don't experience racism in the same way as a black man does, or sexism in the same way a white woman does, then you haven't been discriminated against.
What the fuck?
For fuck's sake, that's almost as dumb as the thing you said about the universities. In that case, a white handicapped man can never be discriminated against. How about a deaf, mute, gay, disabled, white trans man? Can he be discriminated against? How does any of this shit make sense in your head?
Why are people of colour called immigrants when they move to a different country? But why are white people called expats?
You are an idiot!
Because one means moving into your country and the other means moving out of your country. The people in the country he moved to will call him an immigrant. It's not fucking rocket science.
Why?
Just look at that smug fucking face when she says that. Get a fucking dictionary.
There is literally no difference in those two groups apart from the fact that one is people of colour or black people and the other one is white people.
Stop talking. That is not what those words mean.
So, yeah, please stop using the word expat.
Fuck off. I'll do what I want.
Your silence will not protect you.
What the fuck? Fuck!
Jessica talks in here about the feeling of, on page 107, about not being black enough.
Well, if people are suffering from not being black enough, that would mean that being black is pretty good, wouldn't it?
And I felt that as well, because I never felt involved or included in black spaces. And for a while I felt very sorry for myself about this. I felt, oh, I've never been included.
Why are you making me repeat myself? Clearly, there is a lot of status in being black.
And only now am I thinking, the reason that is because if I were black, I would also see myself as complicit in what's going on.
You have officially stopped making any goddamn sense.
I also was somebody who was complicit in the narrative that, oh, the black girls are angry and they're loud and they're much louder and they're mean and they're this and they're that and they're wild. Like, who calls white people wild? Nobody does.
Clearly you haven't been keeping up with Girls Gone Wild. Stop being so goddamn sensitive. If a person is wild, you call them wild. And these girls look really wild to me. Come to daddy.
I mean, even the head teacher at my school called two black girls, said they were acting like animals.
Oh, not that kind of animal, huh? Anywho, I've heard teachers call students animals many times, and they weren't black. It's a completely valid thing to say if a person is completely out of control.
But for me, I can definitely say it's benefited me, and it's given me a lot of privilege because I've been able to actually infiltrate white spaces.
Bruh. Infiltrate sounds like you're a foreign agent trying to gain access to our most sensitive infrastructure or something. Maybe that's not far from the truth.
Stalin, what's missing from G-Lag? Me. Stalin, you.
Which I guess is a power, and that puts my voice above other people's.
Oh, now it's even a power. The more you talk, the better this black privilege seems.
Reflect on it, but use it to get into those white spaces and, you know, make some waves.
What are these white spaces that you keep talking about? I guess my white privilege membership card got lost in the mail or something.
I think I've exhausted myself in talking about race over the past however long.
Yeah, but I bet it doesn't take much to exhaust you.
And I hope that was useful and fairly enjoyable and gave a bit of a perspective on sort of my views on race.
No, it was basically completely incomprehensible.
Take the onus off of black people to do the work.
I knew you'd say that.
Because at the end of the day, racism is not a black problem, it's a white problem.
No, you fuckhead. Saying that racists are automatically white is in itself racist.
And I'm gonna have a nap because I'm tired.
Anyway, thanks for watching and see you next time.